Welcome to episode 17 of the Wild Blueberries Roundtable. It's been a while since we recorded because the entire group has been in hibernation from the silly season. Uh, let's start with trades. We're going to get through a little bit about trades since the 29th of June. Then we are going to go into our goods, bads, and uglies of the free agent period, and then talk a little bit about our own teams. So let's start with Phil Kessel, Dane Burks, who was a throw-in and a fourth-round pick for Alex Galchenyuk and Pierre-Olivier Joseph. Renz, what are your thoughts on that?
Arizona won because they got the best player, and Pittsburgh got some defensive prospects that they needed since their only other prospect they have down there is Cal Addison. But Galchenyuk, I honestly don't know if he lasts longer than a year because he's a UFA after this year.
That is true, and at this point, don't know how much money Marcus Pettersson's going to get next year because he's going into arbitration this year. And guys, did you know that after this year, there's some guy named Matthew Murray who's a free agent?
Yeah.
Also, Justin Schultz is up, and is Juuso Riikola. Riikola won't ask for much, and Schultz will probably take a pay cut. All right, Alex, what are your thoughts on the Phil Kessel trade?
What I think about the Phil Kessel trade is that essentially Pittsburgh traded a guaranteed point per game guy, one of the better snipers in the league, for 2 question marks. It's a high risk, high reward play for them, and I think it will either come back to haunt Pittsburgh, or it'll turn out to be in their favor. But it's one of those trades we're just gonna have to wait and see.
That is true because we need to see what P.O. Joseph you're going to get. Are you going to get the Charlottetown Joseph or the Joseph after a trade in the CHL? Nick, what are your thoughts?
I think that the tails definitely, or the scales definitely tip in Arizona's favor. You know, they've been in the hunt for these past 2 years. There's just kind of, always been question marks on Antti Ranta's health. But, hey, Darcy Kemper performed very well as the starter when Ranta went down.
Let's just talk about that.
Well, he definitely, took the team, put it on his back. And I think that, maybe Kessel's elite scoring ability is what Arizona needed to be put over the top. It's one of those things where after this season, we'll kind of know. You've got Phil Kessel for the next 3 seasons. So this season, 2 seasons after that, brings him till he's 34. You could very well see Arizona competing for a wild card spot this year and possibly a divisional spot the year afterwards. In terms of Pittsburgh, I do like the look of maybe Alex Galchenyuk playing up there on the left alongside Sidney Crosby. But again, it comes back to the fact that he's a UFA at the end of this year. And when you're paying, Malkin 9.5, Crosby 8.7, you're paying Jake Gensel 6 starting this season. Hornfist is getting 5.3. Bugstad, some other contracts that are, not great. And then you've got the likes of Jared McCann coming up. Is an RFA next year, and he played very well after the trade. Like we said, Marcus Pettersson filed for arbitration, so he's going to be up again at the end of next year. Matt Murray is up, and also Tristan Jarry is up at the end of the season. Whether or not he takes over the backup role from Casey DeSmith, who's to tell? But if he does, he's definitely going to want a pay increase. So I think that Pierre-Olivier Joseph, decent prospect, and Pittsburgh is severely lacking on good defensive prospects after, being in contention for so long. But it's, to me, as it stands, Arizona gets the tip in the favor.
All right. So after that James Reimer for Scott Darling. That was a wash. Florida bottom out. Andrew Shaw. Alex, your thoughts on why Stan Bowman thought it'd be a great idea to reacquire Andrew Shaw?
I don't think I have an answer to that.
There's no.
I think it's confused. The move confused me, and I still don't see a reason for it. I mean, for more defensive help, but they got him. They already got that. They already traded for more defensive help, so I just don't get why they needed Andrew Shaw.
I can tell you why. I can tell you why, Scott.
Because grit and veteranosity.
Grit. You need the grit.
And I mean, why not bring back Shawsey? Like, I mean, it's not like they gave up a second and a third. Oh, wait, didn't Montreal give up 2 seconds for him? Montreal got back less than they gave up for him. And they got back a second and a third.
With a 7.
Also, Chicago got Alex DeBrincat. Alex DeBrincat came out of that trade.
That is true. So Montreal traded Alex DeBrincat for 2 years of Andrew Shaw. Wait, was it 2 or 3? It was 3. 3 years of Andrew Shaw.
I still don't get the trade.
He's got 3 more years left on a 6-year deal. He signed with Montreal, where 3.9 AAV is kind of affordable for a guy like Shaw. I mean, if the last couple seasons is any thought of what he can do, he's about a 30 point per game player that puts up a lot of 30 point player who like averages 2 penalty minutes a game, but it's a little grit, a little veteranosity, a nice leader in that locker room, plus somebody who's dealt with this situation before in Chicago.
Yeah, a locker room definitely lacking veteran leadership. I mean, Duncan Keith, Brett Seabrook, Jonathan Taves. They ain't leaders.
Corey Crawford, if he could even think anymore, but
like that, half of that roster are veteranosity and grit.
What do we got? All right. So Chicago, Kane, vet, Taves, vet, Saad, vet, Anisimov, vet, Shaw, vet, Seabrook, Keith, and Crawford.
All the vets.
All the current Blackhawks who spent a fair amount of time with that team, and is that. And then you've got the newer.
Patrick Sharp to come out of retirement.
Yeah, considering that, like, Hossa and guys like that. But you've got then the new vets who are coming in. Ryan Carpenter, Calvin DeHaan, Robin Leonard. Like, Jesus Christ, Chicago. Why did you trade for Andrew Shaw?
They want to relive the glory days. That's what they want to do. That's why they got Sod back, too.
That damn team.
Now watch. Now they're gonna make us shut up, and they're gonna make the playoffs, aren't they?
And Shaw's gonna score like 50 points again.
Yeah. Yeah, because Chicago.
All right. Anyone else have any thoughts on that deal before we move on to no, let's screw it. Connor Brown, Nikita Zaitsev, and Michael Carcones writes, Cody Ceci, Ben Harper, Aaron Luchuk in a third. Ottawa, why did you give up the pick?
Because Connor Brown for 3rd round pick.
True. Right, and if Andrew was here, he'd agree.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Nikita Zaitsev.
Why did Ottawa want to help a division rival is my question.
It's called Why Does DJ Smith Want to Create Toronto Maple Leafs 2.0?
Well, yeah, but the ceiling of that is a first round exit at this moment.
Their team is Bobby Ryan, Mikhail Bodker, Zach Smith, JG Peugeot, Chris Tierney, Connor Brown, Anthony Duclair, Max Verneau, Brady Kachuk, Tyler Ennis, Colin White, Josh Norris, Logan Brown, Nick Fermenton, Nick Paul, Rudolph Spelsers, in the fourth, and Philip Halapik and Vitaly Abramov. And then on the defensive side, you've got Zaitsev, Hainsey, Berwicki, DeMello, Wolanin, Shabbat, Jaros, Brandstrom, and Lejeune. Not even a first round exit. That team ain't making playoffs.
That's a last place.
Yeah, that team could still argue to be last place. Hey, at the very least, this team actually has their first this year.
That is true. Alexi Lafreniere. Wait, no, Ottawa's gonna lose the lottery.
Lucas Raymond?
That wouldn't be bad. Lucas Raymond on that team would actually be pretty good. Nick,
Yeah.
Nick, have any thoughts on this deal?
It's more so just, to me, the Nikita Zaitsev Cody Ceci swap is just weird. They're both not great. I mean, you free up Connor Brown money. Like, you free up the money that you were giving to Connor Brown Toronto, and you get a third, so, like, that's cool. But it's essentially a lateral swap. Like, CC for Zaitsev they're essentially the same player. I don't get it,
Well,
but whatever. I mean, it's a trade. It happened. It's a thing. I guess the only thing that Toronto gains out of this is they don't have to pay Zaitsev for 4 more seasons.
yeah, that's the only thing I could have seen from it.
You know what they do gain out of it? Money that they did not pay to Mitch Marner. They paid to Alex Kerfoot. Let's talk about that trade now. Nazem Kadri, congratulations, Toronto. You got him out of a cancerous environment, and now he's going to score 30 goals. Callie Rosen and a third-round pick for a sixth. Alex Kerfoot, who they immediately re-signed, and Tyson Barrie at 50% retention. Basically, Colorado had cap space. They retained Barrie just because, and Toronto still doesn't have money to sign Mitch Marner. I do like the change of scenery for Nazem Kadri, and I do like the thought that Callie Rosen may get into Colorado's lineup this year. The sneaky piece in that deal, I think, is Kerfoot, though.
Kerfoot does slot in to a third-line role in Toronto better than Kadri would, because Kadri was excess goods. He's supposed to be like a second-line center. And look, you now have a second, and now Colorado actually has an actual second-line center in Kadri.
Yeah, I mean, Soderberg, you could call him a second-line center, but he wasn't that.
Kerfoot tried to be, but he couldn't.
Kerfoot could play all three positions. He could probably play next year. I mean, he'll probably end up playing with Kasperi Kapanen and
Andreas Janssen.
And Jason Spezza, probably.
Possibly.
Because you're going to see, once Marner gets signed, because we know it's going to happen, Hyman, Tavares, Marner, Nylander, Matthews, Janssen, Kapanen, Spezza, Kerfoot, Moore, Patan, Agostino, I guess?
Well, I mean, Hyman is out until December.
All right, then, maybe he'll play second line minutes to start the year. So it'd be, I guess, Janssen, Tavares, Marner, Nylander, Matthews, Kapanen, Janssen, Spezza, Patan, or Janssen, or Kerfoot, Spezza, Moore, Patan, Gauthier, Agostino, I guess. That bottom six is really questionable.
I mean, you say Marner signing like it's a sure thing. With what money? I mean, even once they put Horton on LTIR.
Dermott and Hyman, by the way.
Yeah,
Well,
but Hyman's going to have to come back.
Dermott
They can't
and
give.
Hyman are
They,
both LTIR eligible.
yep. So Dermott, he's on a two-way deal. Hyman, yeah, you're going to free up that cap space for while Hyman's gone. But what are you going to do when he comes back?
You know, would be really
They're-
sneaky
well,
right now.
Hold on, they have 3.7 right now in cap. You put Nathan Horton on IR on LTIR, you've got 9. If Mitch Marner was going to sign for $9 million, Mitch Marner would be signed.
Yeah, you have to trade Nylander. You have to get rid of him.
Which they're not going to do because they're not going to do it, and I'll tell you why. Is because of the simple fact that Kyle Dubas said we can and we will
keep all 3.
All of them. He then went and spent $3.5 million on Alex Kerfoot, $3.4 million on Andreas Janssen, $3.2 on Kasperi Kapanen. He spent $4.5 on Cody Ceci. Again, lateral swap because that's exactly how much money that Zaitsev was making. And
you're replacing Barry with Muzzin because Muzzin's probably not coming back. So Barry will get a raise from his $2.75 mil that he's making this year due to retained salary by Colorado. Plus, and here's the important part. In 2 years,
Anderson needs a contract.
In 2 years, Frederick Anderson needs a contract.
Yeah, and they still have Phil Kessel on salary until 2022. So
in 3 years, Morgan Riley's going to need a pay raise.
Well, and here's what I've been hearing is that Tyson Berry is going to get 8+. Where are they going to get the cap space to do any of this? That is my whole thing. Is Mitch Marner? If this gets dragged out again,
it's going to at this rate.
Happens again. I'm
Mitch Marner's sitting out this year.
Kyle Dubas. No, Mitch Marner is not going to sit out this whole year because if we get to the preseason and Mitch Marner is not signed, offer sheet, and he's going to sign it because if Dubas is not going to take the initiative and trade somebody to re-sign Mitch Marner, why should Mitch Marner do anything for Toronto? Why should he not?
I'll say this right now. A team in the preseason can get away with signing Mitch Marner to $9 million a year.
Oh, absolutely.
They can, because who's going to actually help them get rid of said $9 million in a week?
Nobody, because they don't have any more players.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess maybe you trade what? I mean, who do you even trade? You trade. You don't have any. That's the issue that Toronto's in right now.
Hyman Ceci?
Right. Okay. No. Hyman is injured. Can't trade him. Nobody's going to take that. Nobody knows what he's going to be when he comes back. Nobody's going to be willing to take that. Ceci, I don't see anybody taking Ceci at 4.5. I don't get why they did not sign him.
It'd be really funny if Ottawa retained him just to get to the floor.
No, like I seriously don't understand what the mindset behind signing CC to 4.5
was.
Oh,
nobody does.
Even if you trade for Cody Ceci and then you let him walk immediately, you got the Zaitsev contract off your books, and then you can use that money to sign Mitch Marner. Why was Cody Ceci so necessary to sign?
Oh,
I just get it.
Part. Can we talk about the best part here? So he went on the day after he got traded. He went on Toronto radio, and they asked him, "Have you gotten in contact with anybody in the Leafs organization?" He said, "Yes, actually. And they told me I am playing with either Riley or Muzzin."
Which means they're going to use him.
Yeah.
Not only are they going to use him, they are going to abuse his value, which he doesn't have.
What value? That dude, you could argue that dude was the worst defenseman in the league.
Exactly. And the issue with this is that Muzzin can play both sides.
From Colorado's perspective, I'm just gonna say this: they got them a middle six guy who's known for taking idiotic cheap shots in big games. That sounds kind of familiar.
I mean, to be fair, the weed might help. To be fair,
Yeah, that's fair.
To be fair, he's not in as big a market as Toronto. He's not in his hometown market anymore, and I think a change of scenery may help him.
He's also not playing the Bruins in the first round anymore.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. He will never play the Bruins in the first round anymore. Only in the Cup.
Assuming the Bruins make it there.
Or Colorado.
The Avalanche make it there.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah. So to me, it was a trade. If Tyson Barrie gets 8+, I don't know what to think anymore.
If Tyson Barrie gets 8+, I like that trade for Colorado.
Yeah, it's just there's no money to sign Marner any way you look at it, and I think that the Leafs have really, really backed themselves into a corner because either somebody's getting traded or Marner's getting offer sheeted and leaving.
Someone will offer sheet Marner if he falls to the thing about
if someone's getting dealt, it has to be Nylander. That's basically it. It has to be. If someone's getting dealt for it.
So what? VC for a third. That was just a cap dump, but
what comes around goes around is what I'm gonna say.
Sure. Let's talk.
Also, real quick on that, I just want to say from the Rangers' perspective, we got a third-round pick for a guy that we signed because he didn't sign with the team that drafted him, and I think that's more than anybody could ask for.
Hilariously enough, they traded a third-round pick to get his rights to begin with.
I know. They traded 2 third-round picks for Jimmy VC after 3 years in a Rangers uniform.
All right, let's talk about the trade from last night or yesterday. Can everyone please give a slow clap for Stan Bowman actually losing a trade to Jason Botterill? Darlene Ristolainen, Joka Harju, Colin Miller.
That's a nice decor.
And Montour, mind me.
Yeah, I still don't get that Montour trade.
Henry Joka Harju for Alex Nylander. Alex, you want to start us off here?
Sure. It's I still don't get it. I think there might have been tension between Buffalo and Nylander, and there might have been tension between Chicago and Joka Harju. That's the only way I could see this getting through, is that they both requested a change of scenery. That's
why would Joka Harju want to change his scenery? He was gonna
that's what I know there was something going on between Nylander and Buffalo, but I don't get it by Joka Harju. And say Chicago wanted Nylander, I still wouldn't give up someone the caliber of Joka Harju, especially when you look at their decor. They need him.
I don't know. I guess they really like Nick Beaudin and Adam Bachvist.
I mean, Boqvist probably isn't ready this year.
Beaudin, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, but Boqvist is not ready this year.
Not at all. Anyone else have any thoughts on this before we get to the good, the bad, and the ugly?
Yeah, I do. I think Chicago's trying to strike lightning in a bottle twice with Strome. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna end well.
Let's just talk about this. The Chicago Blackhawks like Nylander and Doc more than they like Byram and Joka Harju.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and to me, I again, they traded for DeHaan and Mata. You can kind of see the mindset of, well, we acquired these defensemen, but they've got 2 righties on roster, so again, that's not a huge deal, and I believe Dahan can play both sides. But it's, they're putting a lot of trust in players like Chad Chris, Adam Bogfist, Nick Bodan. I know Ian Mitchell is unsigned, but he's also in that system.
Like Mitchell.
Right. So it's like I kind of get it, right? They're putting their trust in that youth, and other than what's his face? Kirby Doc, like I guess I see it. They have a lot of non-roster forwards, a lot of forward depth, but when you look at the quality of that forward depth, I mean, you've got Kirby Doc, who's going to be good. We know that. They just acquired Alexis Sorella, John Quenville, Dylan Sakura, Victor Edgedale, or however you say his last name. Like,
I think it's Esdale.
yeah, Philip Kershev. Now add Alex Neal to that. I think personally, I think that he might be kind of that top. He might be top of that list. I'm not sure. So
I don't know. He might even play for them next year. We'll see what happens. All right. So let's get a move on to the good, the bad, and the ugly of NHL free agency. Well, there's a lot of ugly in NBA free agency, but let's talk about NHL free agency. So, we each put together a list of 5 key players that got good, and then 5 key players that got bad/ugly. So, let's start with. So, I'll start off. First up, Kevin LeBlanc. Let's just take a segment to talk about LeBlanc before we continue. 1 year, $1 million. Bridge deal. RFA next year. 56 points this year. 40 points last year. Can we get Matt Barzal, his agent, please? Anyone have I know everybody has thoughts on him. Nick, go first.
all right, so here's what I have to say about that. It actually kind of makes sense, right, when you look at it. You've got players like Melker Karlsson, who I don't know, probably not coming back, and he's making $2 million. Aaron Dell's coming off the books; he's another $2 million. So I think that this LeBlanc deal was more of just like, hey, also Brendan Dillon. I don't know if he's going to come back, but if he does, he's not going to get 3.2. So it kind of makes sense that it's like kind of just a bridge deal. It's like, hey, we want to keep you long term, but we don't really have the space to do it right now. So 1 year, $1 million, and we will sign you next season to what more of what LeBlanc deserves for back-to-back 40+ seasons. He's a key piece of that lineup, and I think that this was more of just a holdover contract until they actually have cap to give him a good contract.
Yeah.
So that's just my opinion on it. It's still an absolute steal of a contract.
I mean, I guess it makes sense. Rens, what about your thoughts on this?
The LeBlanc contract, like Nick, it makes sense. It's also LeBlanc betting himself, and if he gets another 50+ season, oh boy, he's gonna get paid.
One thing I didn't mention was after this season, Paul Martin's 1.5 buyout also comes off the book, so it opens up even more money for them to give him.
That was true. Or that is true. Alex, thoughts?
I thought the Kevin LeBlanc deal was an absolute steal. Like, it is a bridge deal, but paying $1 million for 50 points is just incredible. It's a great move.
One thing I want to mention real quick too is that they still have $5 million in cap space, and I think that it was a strategic move to get LeBanc on this 1 year, $1 million deal, because you still have guys out there like Ryan Dzingel, who, if you look right now, according to Cap Friendly, San Jose only has 10 roster forwards. So yeah, you could try and trust guys that are coming up in your organization, or with that extra money that you have because you only signed LeBanc to $1 million for this season, you could go out and, if you can, again, that's if you can convince one of these forwards that's still on the market to take a 1 year deal. I think that's Cap that they could very much use to their advantage to strengthen that roster, which is, I mean, their forward core, even with only 10 forwards on roster, they still have a pretty damn good forward core. So I think that was also part of it.
All right. So to continue my list of the good, next up I have Michael Furland, who actually just signed his contract today with Vancouver. Really good deal. 4 years, 3.5 AAV. First 2 years, no move clause. After that, modified no trade clause. Really, it's a smart deal because he will not have to get protected in the expansion draft come 2021-2022 because it is not a full no movement clause. Because that's just really smart on Vancouver's end. At this point, I might as well bring in an honorable mention. Tyler Myers, same thing, modified no trade clause. Starting the second year of his deal. Definitely because of the expansion draft. So I guess if Vancouver thinks that they should not protect him and he'd be used for a better change in Seattle, same with Furland. I mean, it makes the most sense. Wait, right. On modified no trade clauses don't have to be protected, correct? Yeah, they don't. They don't. Okay. That makes sense. Third player, Joonas Donskoi. Colorado got a hell of a player. And I think you guys can agree with me here.
For the price they got him at, that was good. He's a consistent middle six player that's going to give you 30 plus points, and I think that getting him for the deal that they did, and especially, Donskoi maybe wasn't given enough of a chance to shine with the talent that you had in San Jose when he was on roster, and I think that he's gonna do well in Colorado. I think it was a good signing, and you look at the players that Colorado lost to bring in a guy like Donskoi, that definitely helps them kind of deal with the players that they did end up trading away.
And now let's move on to Sebastian Aho. I have under a good signing because, in the words of Down Goes Brown, Montreal offered him half a burger and Carolina matched it. Sebastian Aho. Again, we talked about it earlier. Mark Bergevin had the balls to do it. Didn't work. Literally, Tom Dundon is paying him an all salary bonus. That's it. And it's front loaded. It is a fantastic contract. We don't really need to say more. And then my others were like, it was a bunch of 3 honorable mentions at 5. Colin Wilson, who at 2.6 mil, very good re-sign for Colorado. Noah Shari, very overlooked signing in Florida for 1.66 a year. Great bottom 6 guy, strong leader, has playoff experience with the Providence and Boston Bruins in the last 4 seasons.
Stanley Cup experience, not just
Cup experience this year. And Richard Panik. Because I think this is the deal that the Capitals got right. Garnet Hathaway, a little confusing. Richard Panik at 2.5 years or 2 3/4 a year, very good contract. All right, Alex, let's go to your goods.
So wait, my goods?
Yeah, your goods.
All right. At 5, I have Donskoy. Like, he's a he's a great middle six guy, and I think he would, I think he would step into the spot that Kerfoot left. I feel like he's a good Kerfoot replacement for Colorado.
All right.
And then
Yeah.
Orv Furland, which it's a great contract. If they got him on a full no movement, then this would be an entirely different story. But because it was modified, then he can be let go in the expansion draft.
Yeah, 2 years of full no move, and then after that, modified no trade, which allows him to not be protected. And in the end, if it comes down to Tyler Myers and Michael Furland, Seattle has the option of 2 very good players on very decent deals.
And then 3, I have LeBlanc. I know it is just a bridge deal, but $1 million for 50 points is a tremendous deal. And I feel like LeBlanc knows that his money's coming, and this is just a bridge deal, but I still think it's a great deal for 1 year.
All right, what do you have at number 2?
And then also the Robin Leonard deal. I felt like only giving Leonard 1 year was a very smart move by Chicago, and and that they have and that Crawford only has 1 or 2 years left. I think it's 2. Crawford has 1 year left, so they can decide, hey, who did better between Leonard and Crawford. They can let one of them walk, and then they can sign the other one up.
And then what's your best deal?
I think it's Timo Meyer.
Ooh, that's sneaky
I think
pick.
Timo Meyer signed Timo Meyer did a steal. That was a steal. And they signed him up for 4 years. It's just, I feel like Timo Meyer, for what he got for, like, who he'll be playing with. Just who he'll be playing with and what the point production he'll have. I feel like they got him on a perfect deal.
He's going to be on the first line now with Joe Pavelski gone. So
yeah, he'll be on the first line, and I could easily see him being like a point per game guy.
All right, Renz, over to you.
Well, for me, I'm kind of sounding a broken record except for one person. The 5 guys, I'm not going to put them in any order. Michael Furland, Timo Meyer, Kevin LeBlanc. Those 3. That's 3. My 4th one right now would be Gustav Nyquist for not getting overpaid, which that's a good signing for Columbus. They get a second line winger that they.
Yeah, I didn't include the guys who were going to get overpaid and somehow got a fair deal, like Matt Duchene.
Yeah, I mean Nyquist is still a good player. Like, I'm completely fine with it. And if I had to go for a 5th player, I guess I would have to say Myers.
All right, yeah. I mean, Tyler Myers for 6 foot, God knows how big, right shot defenseman, somehow getting $6 million a year. Very good contract. Thank God you didn't say Wayne Simmons, because that's an interesting deal that you'll talk about when you get to your team. Nick, your goods.
All right, so in no particular order, and I'll mention the guys that we've talked about just very quickly that I had on my list as well. Of course, Donskoy, that was a great deal. LeBlanc, we've already talked about. Aho, just that whole week was hilarious. I'll just leave it at that. Leonard, I will disagree with Alex in that I think that only giving him 1 year may not have been smart. If he decides he doesn't want to play in Chicago, he could just leave. I mean, if you look at his career stats, he's a good goaltender, and he was a Vezina finalist last year. I do think that the value at $5 million was phenomenal, and like we've said, Crawford's only got 1 year left in the tank. So if they're able to lock Lehner up after this year, that was a phenomenal signing. If Lehner walks and they don't have anybody to replace him, and Crawford's done, you're running Connor. No, it's Delia. I don't know if it's
Colin Delia.
Yeah, Colin Delia, and we'll see with that. So my last three that haven't been mentioned yet. Brandon Peary only got $775K over, as an annual salary for 2 years.
Elite goal scorer Brandon Peary.
I just don't get it. This guy, he is a great player, and he's never been given a full season to prove that. He had 22 goals in 2015. I don't even think he played a full season.
He did. He only played 40 games.
Yeah, 22 goals in 2015. When Brandon Peary is given the opportunity to play a full season in the NHL, I think he will be a 40 to 50 point player. And if Vegas can get a 40 to 50 point player on $775K for the next 2 years, that's insanity. I'm
convinced the league has like blackmail against Brandon Peary or something.
I don't know what it is, but the dude's flat out. He can play, and he's good. And I don't get a full season.
Peary will probably play on the third line this year. At least that's what I'm hoping.
Third or second. I mean, the guy is a scorer. Staying with Vegas, William Karlsson.
Oh yeah, right. The 8-year $5.9 million.
$9 million. Number one, what I like about this deal is that, William Karlsson has full confidence in Vegas that he is their number one center for the time being, for the next 4 years at least. And I think that what I liked about this was that, Karlsson wanted the term. Karlsson wanted security that he was going to be playing for Vegas. He loves it in Vegas. He wanted to pledge his career to Vegas. He's 26 years old. This deal takes him until he's 34. So I love this deal in the fact that Vegas locks up William Karlsson long term for a number one center for a low value. Obviously, everyone knew that Karlsson wasn't going to have the year that he did in 2017. That was a given. You're not going to come to a new team, score 40, and then put up the same production you did the last season, because that whole Vegas run of 2017, 2018 was a miracle storybook run, and everyone knew that. But for what William Karlsson brings to the table, $5.9 million is a great contract. And again, Karlsson gets the term that he wants. Vegas gets the contract that they want. So it's a win for both sides. Karlsson's going to have a full year alongside of Pacioretty and Stone, which will be nice. That's going to be a hell of a line if they can get it down. That's nuts. And then, well, I don't think that's going to be the case this year, is what I'm saying. I think it's going to be Karlsson, Pacioretty, and Stone on the first line. Finally,
they wouldn't break up. They wouldn't break up their best line in the playoffs. I think that'll be their opening line, and then their second line would be Karlsson, Marchessault, and Smith.
Interesting. I don't know. We'll see. I think that William Karlsson has the best opportunity to succeed if they put Pacioretty and Stone alongside him, but that's just me. Obviously, that was, that Stastny, Stone, and Pacioretty line was phenomenal during the playoffs. But moving on, personally, that's what I would do, and that's what I think should happen. Whether or not it happens, we'll see. Lastly, I don't think this was as talked about because it happened a little bit earlier. When this wasn't one of those earlier deals that happened while the playoffs were still going on, I believe, if not just after they ended. But Jordan Eberle, it was June 14th, so right after the Cup was awarded or still during the Cup Finals. Jordan Eberle, 5 years, 5.5 mil. The dude scored 34 in 2011. He's been a consistent 20 goal scorer, and I just think that was one of the best deals that came out of free agency. And again, he was an extension. I believe.
As an Islander fan, the Islanders got really lucky that they signed Jordan Eberle and Brock Nelson before free agents frenzy. Because if Nelson was on the open market, he would have asked for Kevin Hayes money. If Eberle was on the open market, he would have asked for at least $7 million. Eberle would have asked for Anders Lee money. Nelson would have asked for Kevin Hayes money, and the Islanders wouldn't have brought either of them back.
No, I agree, and that's why I think that signing was very underrated. It was phenomenal, and I think again, if Eberle, first of all, again, consistent 20 goal scorer, so that in and of itself is worthy of the contract that he got. But if he can produce like he did in 2011, 34 goals, if he can be a consistent 30 goal scorer from here on out, that's a steal of a contract for the next 5 years. It's insane.
Also, Barry is most likely reuniting the Bo Barzal Eberle line from 2 years ago that had very much success under the reign of terror of Mr. Doug Waite, but it was still one of the best lines in hockey that year. Barzal put up over a point per game. Eberle had a fantastic year. Beauvillier was showing strides, and he showed strides toward the end of the year when Trotz reunited that line again.
Exactly. I just think that was one of the most underrated signings of this year.
All right, the bad and the ugly. I'll start. Honorable mentions, Matt Zuccarello and his 5 years of no movement clauses, including 2 years of modified no trade clauses at the end of the deal. The $6 million cap hit's a little questionable at some points, but I mean, he's a consistent 50-point guy, so $6 million, not bad. Kevin Hayes, I have no comment. Ron Hainsey, 10-team no trade list, $3.5 million a year. Literally the only reason why he didn't retire is DJ Smith is coaching that team, and he wanted to bring him back to another DJ Smith team. And Cody Ceci, we already discussed him earlier. All right, number 5 on my list of bad contracts, and this one's going to get a lot of hate, is Artemi Panarin. My issue with Panarin's contract is that he is now the second highest paid player in the National Hockey League, and he has never put up 90 points. And he has a full no movement clause. And his entire salary is bonuses. Literally, when I saw that contract, you do not know how relieved I was that the New York Islanders offered him more and he declined it. Because I would have been freaking out if we gave that man over $12 million a year and a full no movement clause. Now,
I also put
I'm not
Panarin in my list.
bad player. Not at all. I'm not. I am saying that he is not worth $11.6 million a year. Number 4 is Anton Stralman. 3 years, $5.5 million, 32-year-old, modified 16-team no trade clause. I mean, he's a hitter. I mean, he's not really Rangers early Lightning Stralman anymore.
I think that's what the Panthers are banking on.
He's not. He's like,
he isn't.
his 1 year with the Leafs and like the very end of his Lightning career, Strawman. Or his 2 years with the Leafs and very end of Lightning, Strawman. Like he's not a $5.5 mil defenseman anymore. Literally, they could have spent another $1 mil a year and gotten Tyler Myers. Think about that. Number 3 is Ben Sherrod. Now, when I saw that Ben Sherrod signed with the Canadiens, I thought, you know what? That's a pretty good player for that team. Then I saw a 3-year contract, and I got concerned. Then I saw 3.5 AAV, and I got even more concerned. And then I saw a 10-team no-trade list, and the comments on the Montreal Canadiens Twitter account. And I realized that Montreal screwed up. Ben Sherrod has a career high of 20 points. 5 goals. He is not an offensive defenseman. Montreal paid Ben Sherrod $3.5 mil. Detroit paid Patrick Nemeth $3 mil. I would rather have Patrick Nemeth. Not by much. Both not good players. I would rather have Patrick Nemeth because he is better defensively than Sherrod. I will say that right now. And he is younger. Number 2 is Sergei Bobrovsky. In the words of TSN Bar Down member Corwin, don't pay goalies, they're all the same. 7 years, 10 mil a year, 5 years of no movement clauses. Congrats, Florida. I understand that Roberto Luongo retired and you traded James Reimer, but Bobrovsky is done with that contract at age 37. He's not a $10 million goalie at age 37, and I think everyone can agree with me there. And number 1, and I think everyone can agree with me here, that this is arguably the worst contract signed in free agency. Now, I'm saying free agency because if it wasn't free agency, Erik Karlsson. Brandon Tanev. I'm gonna let you guys talk about Brandon Tanev because I think I've spoken enough. Alex, you go next with your bads and uglies.
My number 5 is also Artemi Panarin. He's a good player, and he's a playoff hero in Columbus. I just don't think he's worth that much.
All right, who's your number 4?
Ron Hainsey.
Fair enough. Is it kind of the same reasons why I said it? Like 3.5 mil, 38 years old, 10-team no trade list, and literally the only reason he's playing is because DJ Smith likes him.
Yeah.
That and $3.5 million.
I said 3.5 mil already. We
can
repeat it again though.
Yeah. I get Ottawa needs the cap floor, but with Ron Hainsey the way to go. Number 3, I have Jeff Skinner. I get he was a 40-goal guy and that he makes Eichel better and Eichel makes Skinner better. I just don't see how that term. I don't see how he was worth it when he's never been a point per game guy.
All right.
That's money I'd pay. That's money I'd pay like a 90-point guy, and he's getting it.
All right, who's your number 2?
And then, Brandon Tanev.
So it's 1 Bobrovsky.
1 is Erik Karlsson.
Do you not have Sergei Bobrovsky on your list?
No.
That is insane.
That is also bold.
I get that. I get that Bobrovsky was paid a decent amount of money for a decent amount of time. I get that, but at the same time, what was Florida's two struggles? Their two biggest weak points last year: coach and goalie, and they fixed them by getting Bobrovsky and Quenneville. Bobrovsky, I feel like is going to be the missing piece that Florida needs, and I feel like in the long run, yeah, that contract will probably hurt them. But in the short term, I feel like it's what Florida needs.
All right. Nick.
And then Eric Carlson, I don't really need to explain myself.
Eric Carlson, no comment. Nick.
So I'm going to get this out of the way at the beginning. I agree with Alex. I do not have Sergei Bobrovsky on this list because, like Alex said, yeah, in 6 years, we might be looking at his contract and saying, wow, that's a horrible contract. If Florida wins, and even if Florida contends for a cup, if they make it to the cup finals within the next 5 years, that's more than they've done in the past, 10, 15? They needed a goalie. They got their goalie. They got their goalie until Spencer Knight's ready. And it's, to me, that made sense. To me, I mean, again, like Alex said, you got a decent chunk of change for a decent amount of time. But, you got to pay goalies, especially Vezina caliber goalies like Sergei Bobrovsky. So, moving in.
Spencer Knight going to be ready? Year what? 4, 5?
I say Spencer Knight, 4 or 5. You're going to be paying your backup $10 million, but that's fine. I don't really. I see this as because Florida is in a win now mode at this point, because Florida needed to be in a win now mode because of how much they were just on the fringe, and that was with a 42-year-old goaltender or a 43-year-old goaltender, and they were still just right there on the fringe. They've got an elite goaltender now. That's all I'm saying. But moving into the bad signings. We've already talked about Cody Ceci and his $4.5 million and all of the Toronto-ness of that. Myself, I actually put two players on here that probably aren't going to be agreed with. I put Varlamov on this list.
Yeah,
I
agree.
I do not like the term at all whatsoever. 4 years for a goalie who has had injury troubles in the past and has been very inconsistent numbers-wise. I don't get it. I don't know whether it's Lehner didn't want to stay or what, but the fact that they lost Lehner and replaced him with Varlamov just really sits wrong with me. I just doesn't...
You want your answer? Because I got your answer.
Let's hear it, because I don't know why Lehner left.
All right. Well, first off, initially when Trotz and Lou came in, their original goal before signing Lehner, who was always a plan B, was that they were trying to trade for Varlamov after Colorado got Grubauer. They refused to trade Varlamov. So they signed Lehner. It happened to be a feel-good story. Lehner wanted $5 million a year. The Islanders gave him an end-all, be-all. It was like a final offer of like a Mrazek contract, I think, maybe a little bit more money. They said, you can circle back around to it. And by the time Lehner circled back around to it and called the Islanders, they already had a deal in place with Varlamov.
That's ridiculous.
They were not expecting to hear back from Lehner.
That's ridiculous. You're offering a Vezina candidate $3.7 million?
See, this is the problem.
It's ridiculous.
It's because the Islanders had a good defense. Chicago's defense is not good.
Look at Lehner's numbers on Buffalo, on Ottawa. He is a good goalie. No, even if there's a bad defense in front of him, he still had like a 915, 920 save percentage. To me, this move just didn't make sense. I think that they should have paid him. That's just me. Varlamov Varlamov, 4 years, makes no sense to me. That's why I have him on the list.
As an Islander fan, here, I'll say this right now. As an Islander fan, we will always respect Leonard. He will always be a member of the New York Islanders, no matter what happens. We've agreed that this is one of those stories where it's like, obviously, didn't end the way we wanted it to, but at the same time, it's like, okay, you know what? Maybe the Islanders would have kept wanting to re-sign him, and eventually they would have just stopped re-signing him and would have just kept Sorokin. And the whole goal for the Islanders and the end-all be-all with this Varlamov contract, even though it is a poorly timed contract, is that this year they want it to be Varlamov and Greiss. Next year they want it to be Varlamov with Sorokin. Then the following 2 years, they want it to be Varlamov and Sorokin, with Varlamov being the backup. And then Varlamov has a modified no-trade clause in the last 2 years of his contract, and they may try and trade him in the last year of his contract.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I just, from an outsider perspective, it didn't make sense to me. But
you understand, it doesn't make sense to a lot of Islanders fans either. I do like Varlamov. The term is a little questionable. The AAV is okay, I guess, but the term, the 4 years, is a little questionable. But Varlamov and Sorokin do have the same agent, and I think with the combination of having Varlamov there to help mature Sorokin into the American game, with Lou, with Trotz, with the coaching staff, with the ability to work with some amazing goaltending consultants like Piero Greco, like Mitch Korn, who turned not only Leonard, but Thomas Greiss into a potential Vezina candidate last year, I think it will appeal Ilya Sorokin to come stateside.
Yeah, and that's very possible.
All right. Who's your other one that will do?
So, moving on. I've got 3, and I'll go through them real quick. The other one that I don't think that anyone's going to agree with me on is the Myers contract. For me, I get the whole the modified clauses, and I get that. I totally understand that. For me, Tyler Myers won the Calder in 2010 and has been regressing offensively ever since, and his defense has arguably also regressed. His entry defense numbers, they're not great. They're not $6 million great. Personally, that's just my opinion. Again, I get the whole clauses in his contract and stuff like that, but to me, it's a little bit of an overpayment. Then we go to one of the biggest overpayments of this entirety of free agency is Kevin Hayes. Love Kevin Hayes. Kevin Hayes was a great New York Ranger, but $7.1 million for a player who only topped 50 points for the first time this year.
And
that's just...
He's with a coach that didn't like him in New York. Yay!
And he's 27 years old. Gave him a 7-year contract, 7.1 mil. He's a good power forward. He had a career year. He looked good this year. Didn't look $7.1 million good. And then my last deal that I'll say is Jeff Skinner. Again, I agree with Alex. Yeah, he put up 40 goals this year. He also matched his career high in points, which is 63 points, which, by the way, he set that career high in his rookie year in 2011 when he won the Calder. That's the last time that Jeff Skinner had 63 points. Not saying that Jeff Skinner isn't a very skilled top 6 goal scorer and a top 6 forward. He's not great defensively. And if you want to say that Artemi Panarin got overpaid because he's never put up 90 plus points and he's getting 11.6, Jeff Skinner is worth like $6 million and he's getting 9. So that's just my opinion on that. So that's it on the bad signings for me.
All right, runs.
Okay, so number 5, Bobrovsky. Just because, one, I don't know why this might end poorly. I don't know. I just have that weird thing with Bobrovsky. Like, he's going to be good, but I don't know how far he could lead you to the playoffs. That's just really my thing about it. Also, this is what I. Also, this GIF is when I heard he was signing with Florida. If you guys see that. Number 4, you guys are
I saw it.
now number 4. You guys are really not going to understand this. You aren't. Joe Pavelski. So, I don't know why. Joe Pavelski had a good season. Pretty good season. I don't know why, but I think he's going to fall off a cliff. Like, I understand Dallas going for it, signing it for 7 years, for 3 years. Like, at least the term is short. The money, like, I'm okay with it. Hopefully he does well, but I don't know. I just feel like Pavelski is about to decline starting this year, and it's not going to be a pretty one.
That was my biggest issue with that contract was the money. I get the term. They definitely are an improved forward core with him, but giving a 34-year-old $7 million for 3 years is ridiculous. Especially my other big issue is they just got Spezza's 7.5 off the books. They just had a 34-plus-year-old that was making $7 million plus come off the books, and then they
signed another one.
They just went and just signed another one, and it
I understand that he's good and all, but I don't know. I feel like he has a very regrettable decline coming up. Just because of how he plays, like a small power forward that doesn't seem to age well.
True.
So, at number 3, Brandon Tanev.
Nobody's actually talked about Tanev, so you can go ahead and do this.
Okay, Tanev. Good bottom sixer. When I first heard the deal for Pittsburgh, I said, okay, that's a good deal. They get a bottom sixer. When I hear 3.5, it says, what? Okay, you can be sure. And it says, and I hear 6 years, it said, okay, Jim Rutherford, how senile is he? Someone want to put him in a retirement home? Come on, there has to be one in Pittsburgh, right? And then when I saw that it had a modified no trade clause for all 6 years, oh boy. I don't think I've ever seen a contract that bad, and it's not even that much money in the grand scheme of things. 3.5 isn't much. But 6 years and a modified no trade clause for all 6? Why? Just why? Okay. Number 2, Jeff Skinner. Just like Alex and Nick said. Why? Why $9 million? No joke. If I heard that Jeff Skinner could stay in my team with $9 million, I let him walk.
True.
Downright. And then number 1, Erik Karlsson. Just because I don't know if he'll ever stay healthy again. When he's healthy, he will be that Norris defenseman that you need. But the problem is, can he ever stay healthy again? That's really my big issue with him.
All right. So, obviously, this is running a little bit longer. So, let's just each do a little quick summary of what our teams did. I mean, we've got a bunch of people who just had a lot of teams give depth signings, depth contracts. So, I'll quickly start. Lee, 7x7, could have been worse. He was asking for 9. He took a discount. He never wanted to leave. The 9 was just a myth. Varlamov, as you guys said, term questionable, money, okay, I guess. Everly, great, love the contract. Nelson, maybe a little overpay, nothing huge though. It'll end up working out in the end. And we're winning the Stanley Cup because we signed Jared Crow. All right, Renz, I mean, you guys didn't do much after the PK Subban thing, so.
Okay, Simmons. He's a signing. 1 year, $5 million. I really don't hate it. I don't love it. I really don't hate it. He's there. He's your Brian Boyle replacement on the power play, pretty much. That's really much it.
That's all you did, isn't it?
Yep, that's it.
All right, let's go to Nick and all of Boston's depth signings, please.
Yeah, so I'll make this quick because obviously I have two teams to go over. So Boston, Heinen, 2 years, 2.8. I'm not upset about it. $8 million to re-sign Carlo and McAvoy is going to be interesting. But one thing that's definitely going to come into play with McAvoy is the fact that he has not been able to stay healthy. So I think that he's not really going to get as much as people think that he's going to get. So Gauntz from Vancouver, that's just depth. Brett Ritchie, I actually like that. I like the Ritchie signing. It's another, we lost Noel Achari. He's kind of the Noel Achari replacement. He plays a very similar game, grindy style in the corners, body throwing, kind of power forward kind of guy that's going to chip in a little bit of offense. And again, that's exactly what Noel Achari did. Par Lindholm, 2 years, $850K. Again, don't hate it. I personally would love to see the Bruins and the Maple Leafs go 7 again in round 1 and Par Lindholm be the one to score the game winner, because that would be hilarious. That would be the funniest thing ever. Connor Clifton, 3 years at $1 million. I don't know how we got that extension, but Don Sweeney, thank you for that, because Connor Clifton was the 13th defenseman that we used all this season and was the one that was playing in the Stanley Cup Finals. When he came up and when he played, he was great. He's not a defensive, nightmare, but for opposing forwards, he's not that grind out defensive defenseman, but he plays competent defense and he's going to chip in offensively. He's a good puck mover. Steve Kampfer, 2 years, $800K. Again, don't hate it. He's that depth defenseman that the Bruins haven't had in the past. They really haven't had that guy that can step in if somebody gets injured and fill that role very nicely. And then Solaric, 1 year, $700K. I think the Bruins have set themselves up pretty nicely. Again, once we finalize these Carlo and McAvoy deals, I'll be very happy. But you look at the contracts that are coming off the books next year, and I'm confident that we're going to have the space. I think that this is Chara's last season. I think this is the farewell tour for Chara in this next season. And then, you've got Grzelcyk, Krug. Kevin Miller's not going to make 2.5 anymore. Jarl Halak's coming off the books, and he's either going to get less money or he's going to go to another team. Bolesky and Seidenberg both come off the book. So I think that this is the Bruins have set themselves up nicely, personally. Now, moving on to the Rangers, obviously made the biggest free agent move, arguably, with Panarin, 7 years, 11.6. Don't hate it. Don't hate it because players like Kreider are probably going to be moved at the deadline. Nemesnikov could be moved. I think this is the final season of selling off these better players to get younger, higher potential players. I would love for Chris Kreider to stick around, but I don't think he's going to. And you also look at it. Mika Zibanejad signed to a pretty team-friendly deal at 5.35. Brady Shea's locked up long-term. Shattenkirk and Stahl come off the books in 2 years. Adam Fox had just got on his ELC. Brendan Smith comes off the books in 2 years. So Shattenkirk, Stahl, and Smith, that's freeing up $15 million. Trouba and D'Angelo, they're both in arbitration, as are Lemieux and Buchnevich, but I'm not worried about it. Again, we can move some, but we're going to be moving people. It's not, Jesper Foss is probably going to be moved. Matt Bolesky could be moved. So the salary will open up. Georgiev needs a new contract after this season, which, if he plays well, is going to be slightly rough, not going to lie. But, Hank's got 2 years left, and I think that's about all he's got in the tank. And then that's 8.5 that's freed up. So while the Panarin signing is a lot right now, after a couple seasons, it's not going to be that bad, and we're going to have still a young team. And again, I just want to headline. This offseason was huge for the Rangers. They got Trouba for Neil Pionk, which I was a little sad to see him go, but getting Trouba, that's a pretty big upgrade from Pionk. Kravtsov came over. Fox was acquired. Shesterkin came over. Rykov came over. And Rykov is one of those guys that I'm looking at that's very underrated. He's kind of flown under the radar. Rykov, if people don't remember, came over in the Grabner deal. I believe that was last season.
Yeah, it was Grabner for a second in Rykov.
Exactly. And, Rykov, I think, is one of the very underrated. And, so bring in Kako as well. That's it's been a big offseason, and I'm excited to see what the future brings.
All right, Alex, you got two teams to go through. I mean, one made significantly less moves than the other, so go ahead.
I guess I'll start with the Wings. They got I like Joe. I don't like the Joe Nemeth contract, but for the role, Patrick, not Joe, yeah. But for the role he filled,
his name is.
For the role he fills, the money's a little rough, but for the role he fills, he'll be fine. Valtteri Filppula, if I had to guess, he's just good friends with Stevie, and he did win the cup with us in 08, so.
Key word, that was 11 years ago, though. That was when Filppula was 24. He's 35.
He's still a Stanley Cup champion.
Fair enough.
And then and for the Knights, Brandon Peary.
You missed Calvin Pickard, the biggest.
That's right, they did.
Oh.
They did get Pickard, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, Calvin Pickard. He's I hope he's the backup over Bernier.
Dude,
I know that would be
making $3 million a year. He ain't going anywhere.
I know Bernier's making a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, he's making a lot of money, and that's going to be a lot of money on the bench or in Grand Rapids. But I'd still rather see Picard be the backup than Bernier.
All right, and now Vegas.
For the Knights, they Brandon Peary. I love that deal. I feel like I don't even care if it's the fourth line. He needs to actually play. He needs to actually play. No more healthy scratch nonsense. He needs to actually play. And Noshek, they also got back. His spot on the fourth line safe. And then obviously they're still over the cap. They're still over the cap. So they're gonna have to make more moves. But yeah.
All right.
I don't think it's gonna. I just want to add one. I don't think it's gonna be Egan, because if they wanted Egan to go, they would have just moved him right away.
Yeah, it's not gonna be Egan. It's gonna be interesting to see who it'll be, though. Maybe Holden, attach somebody to him to get rid of him. We'll see. All right. Let's make it easy. Quick final thought, literally like 10 seconds each, about anything else. I'll start. New York Knicks, pretty decent offseason, bringing a lot of vets. However, all of them, their option or their year 2 of their contract, all options. Giannis, Paul George, Kawhi, everybody's a free agent in 2021. Cue it. Aw shit. Here we go again. Rens.
Devils, can you do things? And Mets, can you start selling? There you go.
All right, Nick.
I will finish off with Freddie Freeman needs to be mic'd up more often, because
Amen.
that was
Amen.
hilarious.
Yes.
That was hilarious. And I'm thinking about getting a T-shirt printed with a with Megan Rapinoe in her pose with a crown on. So just
That is
throwing that out there. It sounds like a great T-shirt.
Alex.
I'm not gonna claim to be a huge NBA fan, but if I guessed I had a favorite NBA team, it would be the Pistons, and apparently they're interested in Oklahoma City, or not? Oh, they're interested in Russell Westbrook. Yeah, not Oklahoma. And yeah, I guess that's the thing.
All right. And obviously, before we go, we just want to give well wishes, and obviously we haven't recorded since then. To Tyler Skaggs' wife and family, and all of his teammates and all of his other friends. I mean, such a tragic loss. Also, best wishes to the family and friends of Greg Johnson, who passed away yesterday, right?
Yes.
Yesterday. And then also best wishes to Carlos Carrasco as he goes through his cancer treatment.
Really cool. The thing yesterday with all his Indians teammates standing with the I stand or the we stand for cookie, and then they cut his one and it says I stand on it. That's really cool. And also best wishes to the family of former Yankee and author Jim Bolton. He passed away earlier this afternoon. He was the author of Ball 4. Really good book when you got the chance to read it. That is it for this long episode. We will be recording very on and off during the summer, and we'll be back full time come NFL training camp. Peace.